And then, yes, Ken Music Mix. He's right here. I wanted to say the veteran veteran broadcaster, but actually that one we say it as. So. Uncle Ken, how are you doing, sir? You caught me, eh? I was yes, veteran broadcaster. He catch me live, but no shaking. It's okay. Okay, good to have you back on the show, Uncle Ken. Let me say hi to Chief Moomin. My brother, how are you doing?
Yes, senior man, I'm doing very well by grace.
You great? Yes. Now, let me say that we are honored this afternoon to have one of the best actors in this industry, the Ghanaian film industry. And he's popularly, he's famed for his role in the Things We Do for Love TV series, but he's starred in a lot of movies, won awards both locally and internationally, and recently released a book that generated some conversation. So that's a controversy. We are honored to have this afternoon Adjetey Anang. Hello, brother.
Hello, brother.
How you doing?
I'm good.
How does it feel, to be 50 years old?
Well, it's still early days yet, so I'm still, paying deliberate attention to my bones, my nerves, etc. Just to see whether what they told me about coming to the fifth floor, it's beginning to.
What did they tell you about the fifth floor?
Oh, about waking up early in the morning with some, stiff backs and not being able to bend down fully, especially if you have a shoes with laces. Avoid those. But I haven't
experienced that yet.
I still feel like I'm in my late 40s.
Yes, you look younger than your age. What's the secret?
Do I even know? I mean, if I do, what about Uncle Ken?
Uncle Ken is 70, man.
Oh, goodness. That's incredible.
I had an interview with Ochame Kwame, and he told me that when he was nearing 40, he was a bit anxious. He was even depressed because, he was thinking about things he had not achieved at that time and all that. Yeah. Did you have any of those, thoughts, getting to maybe 40 or getting to 50? Did you have those funny thoughts?
That's when you're being very realistic because, they come in every now and then because you have boxes that you still haven't ticked. And so when somebody, and it's people around you always remind you that you're catching up, you're growing, because sometimes you even forget that you're getting there. And then you begin to think, oh, I have not done A, B, and C. And it's a bit uncomfortable, but as long as we have life, we're like, okay, this is when you do it, not procrastinate.
What haven't you achieved yet?
Oh, there are lots. I mean, I still want to be a part of making sure that we bounce back big time in terms of when I'm talking about the industry.
Okay.
We've gone through a phase, we're still going through there, but out of that, we're having some potential, some hope, and so I want to be that process to make sure that we're not only handling that legacy to the next generation in terms of just the craft, but also that that's a character to it. Yeah. That the tools, our bodies are tools, and it's in a good place. That way we're not just people who just deliver in terms of a skill, but don't have substance. And so I want to be part of that process. There are also lots of things that I'm also giving to the younger generation. And NAFTI, for example, where for me it is not about just imparting knowledge, but making them responsible for the choices that they're making. Because
as a lecturer there,
exactly, it's an industry, it's a creative hub, and whatever we feed society, there's going to be a feedback. How are they consuming it, and after that, what is it? Are they having tummy aches, or they're solid to really impact whatever we're putting out there? So there's just a few of the boxes that I really need to tick. Yeah.
How did somebody who studied fine arts end up in theater arts, performing arts?
Well, so the BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, is actually not fine arts as we know it, as in, when, typical parlance would say drawing and
okay. Okay.
But this was a particular course that was termed that, but it was theater arts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's your area.
That's right.
Wonderful. Now, at what point did you study dramatic arts at the Wits University in Joburg?
That was in 2009. That was when I made that was my first year, 2009.
Okay, you
That's
were
right.
already in the industry.
I was. I went off to, go to school Kakra.
What inspired that?
Well, the thing is, I saw myself as, well, if you really want to impact the way I wanted to impact, then I needed to step out there. I didn't want to feel comfortable in this zone alone, because the more you go out there, you realize that, you think that you're a king Kong in your space, and then you get out there and you realize that, Charlie, you need to catch gra. So I needed to go out there and learn more, open my mind, even in terms of characterization. What are the varied ways in which we can develop and grow? And it was a blessing to step out there. And so for me to keep pushing, and if it gives you the edge. And so it just fell in line with what I do to myself. I'm my number one critic. I mean, I watch a movie and people are singing all the praises. I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I see so many flaws in this particular scene or scenes, and I need to improve. And so I'm hard on myself. And so basically that's a foundation for me in pushing.
Has acting paid?
Oh, in a lot of ways. I'll be ungrateful if I say it hasn't, but it could have paid more. I mean, way more. But I would say that it has. It has, to some extent, yeah.
Okay, so what have you been able to do from acting?
Oh, from acting, I don't like blowing my own trumpet, but at least there's a house. There's about to be there's a house. There's about to be another, and a few things. At least I know that I've planned my kids' future to some stage,
level,
which I never experienced. I never had, and we're putting things together. We have, my wife and I founded this group called the Spirited Arts, which is metamorphosing into Meraki Arts.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we're purely theater based stuff, creative, film,
Oh wow, interesting.
etc. as well. Yeah. So yeah.
And what do they do? What do you do for them?
Well, I'm the founder, but I'm also in there as an actor, performer,
Okay.
and also a creative person in the creative space. And so, for example, when we go into the communities and there is a subject like go change mindsets about maybe abortion, or go change mindsets about whatever it is, then we create sketches to meet the needs of the specific communities, where we involve them in the process, so that they are not left there. It's not a talk down thing. You're part of the process. You find your own solutions, and then we leave with something that they can carry on even when we're not there. And so this is part of the process for me.
Is it true you tried music before?
Not at all. I didn't.
You didn't?
Yeah, I was introduced to music, but I didn't have the boldness to.
Oh, okay. What about radio?
I did radio for a movie, actually a series.
Okay.
It was but I didn't try my hands realistically.
Are you naturally shy?
I have been for the greater part of my life. I've been a shy person. But I wouldn't say, sometimes I struggle with that, because the fact that you don't talk much and you observe doesn't necessarily make you shy. I think that people sometimes we get it wrong when we see people who do not talk, but that doesn't mean that they are shy. It's just their demeanor. That's all.
Yeah, because we see you the calm, cool, collected, but you get on stage or
There you
in
go.
that movie and you are a different person. How do you get into character?
Well, there's a foundation, but then depending on the character that you're playing, that we have variations, and the danger is to stick to just one, because then it becomes monotonous and predictable. But every now and then you're finding new ways in so it depends on the character that you're playing. Some would demand that you go the Stanislavski way, you allow, in Stanislavski's approaches, for you to allow the character to take completely over. And so if I'm dishing a slap to Chief here, right now, I forget
Can we try it?
Actually, I needed to wake up my sister. Having missed my buffet, thanks to Joy FM.
I know, right? So I
Yeah.
totally forget that his chief moment, and I really issued him
Yeah.
a slap for real, you know. And so that there's that, and then there's the others who would say that be mindful of the fact that you're acting, that whoever is at the other end
Okay.
is an actor, and we're just working. It's a creative space, and so that we don't harm each other. Yeah.
What's your most challenging role ever?
That would always go back to stage. I think Desert Dreams it was, where this was in mid-90s, where people, you know, young people were looking at this greener pastures, you know, things started way back,
Way
you know,
back.
and the whole setting was a desert, and you know the National Theatre stage was your wooden, but we had to make the audience believe that we're walking in sand. I had blisters under my big toe, and I had to raise it up for 1 hour 30 minutes, and the consistency with that. Even when I forget and it drops a bit, I have to be like sun has entered, and you know then I react accordingly. It was tough because my senses had to be just be there 100% always, and very scorching sun. Meanwhile, there's no scorching sun, but you have to give the impression that because you have to bring the audience into the
Exactly.
space, this imaginary space, and then in the evening it's so chilly and cold, and so that was one of my toughest productions. Yeah.
Joy 99.7 FM. We are here with Adjetey Anang, actor. If you have any question for him, send to us via WhatsApp number 055 1111997. Now let's go to the book. Why did you write the book?
It has been something that I've thought about in the years ago. If I'm right, maybe 2 years ago, given the opportunity that I had at NAFTI, I realized that people were still following the same path that we had in terms of trying to just get some capital, put some content out there, and make profit. So there wasn't focus on the content in itself and what harm or good it would do to society. And therefore, I thought that, look, people were looking up to me directly, and for me to be really real to them, for them to relate to me, I needed to write a book about my journey. You know, the opportunities that I had, opportunities that I didn't have, how I was resilient, how I came out of difficult challenges. Because, look, in our time, when we hear people write autobiographies or memoirs, we're looking at people who are hitting their 80s, 90s, you know, late in the day, and I mean, I said, no, I wouldn't want to wait to get to that point when somebody is 25 years, I've been through that process, and is going to repeat the same mistakes that I did when I was 25. Why don't I save that person now and then give that person another alternative or choice? And so I said, look, what a perfect time. It would be right to do this at 50 years, you know, then I would bring out this book. And so I started the journey of writing to sort of speak to these young people who are about to get under the spotlight, or who are already in there and are facing challenges that we didn't have any sensitization or any detailed guidance. And let me give it to them so that an aspect of our industry would grow, because the capacity in the human capacity is so crucial.
Is the book serving the purpose for which it was intended? Is it what's the feedback like?
Well, the feedback has been pretty balanced. When I say pretty balanced, and I would have wished that it was doing pretty much more on the airways, because that is what would drive sales in an aspect. I think that the focus more has been on a paragraph that seemed to take over the whole book, and which is quite unfortunate, but was expected. And because it was a part of me that was never known, and this was part of my struggles in the early days, and unfortunately it's been made to look like it's by today. But I've moved way past that. But seeing that young people are in the same scenario, and look, let me tell you, our young people are in some places where it's not okay, and we need to really grasp that state. Otherwise, then the hope that we're all looking for would just fizzle out. And so I thought that, look, let me put my story out there, energize somebody, inspire somebody, impact somebody out there, so that they would do better than we did when we were in this.
How long did it take to write this book?
Oh, I've been putting this together, I'd say at least a year.
Okay.
A year. I mean, getting information here and there, giving people their own spaces to their own time to really write what they want to write there, because the beauty about this was, even when people like maybe Adjetey Anang, Ivan Kwashiga did make their inputs, I never read it. I only read it when the book was published. I refused to read about it for me to sort of think of, oh, Charlie, you right there, you could bring Wahala, so we take this out. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be as real as possible, without any no holds barred, whatever the perception and the working relationship that they had with me, just put it out there for it to be very authentic. Yeah.
So which other people assisted you to write this book?
Oh, so in terms of assistance and guidance from the Kim Dawe publishers, who this is what they do, and so maybe a grammar, a phrase, how we speak, not the same way that we write. Sometimes we have to really give it some flavor. So they were advised, oh, why don't we look at this phrase and turn it around a bit. So those were the inputs that they made. But fortunately for me, I had other people. So people who would, the first person would speak. My mother had inputs, my sister had inputs, and my colleagues had inputs that I had no clue about. I mean, some of the things that my mom even said there, I discovered because she never told me about some of these or in those details. And I realized that for the first time in the book that, oh, she had this info about me and I never knew.
In the book, you also say that your Christian values barred you from doing certain things in the industry.
That's right.
What are some of these things?
Oh, I mean, one of the things that was very striking was my grandmother, my parents hammering on this phrase that has become like a cliche: a good name is better than riches. A good name is better than riches, and they say it in all the languages for me to, and that kept ringing. But you see, there's always something that becomes a barrier and opposition to where you're going, and you may have all the great upbringings, but there was something that would challenge it, that would test it. Mind you, I was also growing up in a compound setting where you had, and I'm a guy, so when I say guy, you know how it is with guys in those days. I don't know whether it's changed, but where uncles and aunties will marry and they all come into the compound house. And so you're having so many people with different, perceptions or principles when it comes to marriage and nurturing children. They all have their own style and belief systems, and so you're picking bits and pieces from all these people. You see how an uncle is talking to a wife and you're like, okay, is that how to talk to wives? Okay, then you pick it up. You may not necessarily act it because you're still young, but in your subconscious you've recorded it, and so it plays out later in the future. And that's why our foundation is very, very key. And so even though I had this parallels running where a good name is better than riches, but then I also have this graphic images and examples, and they always become a conflict in there, and they test us in the long run.
Do you take alcohol?
Oh, my red wine, small doses, because I'm also very careful. But in my bedroom, I can take, like a full glass and I'm okay, because
So why did you decline that ad for the alcoholic beverage?
So here it is. At every stage of my life, I've focused on a goal and a purpose. And at that stage was the beginning of me mentoring young people, and I found myself at church in the youth department, where young people immediately, clicked with me. I was down to earth, and they all loved me. And here, each time I would advise them, stay away from drugs, from alcohol, just study on your books. When you get there, then you decide you'll be independent, etc., etc. And then here comes this job, and it was an opportunity that we've been praying for, because we're going through some hard times, and then this blessing comes from God, as we termed it. But then it was an alcoholic beverage company, and it was a good deal. I mean, it was a good at the time.
And
it was
you
a
turned
good
it
deal.
down.
It was tough. It is, you say that very easily, but it was tough to turn it out, because I kept having this image of going back to to Sunday school, the youth department, and these young people saying, "Hey, Uncle Adjetey, you said we shouldn't drink alcohol, but we saw you drink."
Then you should have told them, but I bring it in my room small.
But but kids, they
I get
very
you.
sensitive.
I get
That
you.
image alone sticks much more than the words that you've said.
Exactly.
And they're going to carry that, and that's the conflict. And so, once I had positioned myself, the posture was being a mentor to these people. It comes with sacrifice. Whatever that you put you make your agenda, you would have to sacrifice something, and it was a tough decision to take, but I was also glad that I did, because somehow when you lose something, you gain something as well, and it brought about a chain of.
How much was it at the time, and which year was it? What was this?
The year I'm sure would be somewhere early 2000.
Okay, and how much was the deal?
If I bring it into today's, that would be probably looking at like $20,000.
Okay, $20,000.
Yes, then.
And you said no to it
because then they wanted to use the pusher character thing.
Ooh, okay, I know where you're going. I get it.
And so it wasn't just me, but the character, and within the story with Adjetey as well. So they knew that, and they knew the implication of me stepping out there, and they knew that it would just limit me in terms of my what's the name? My brand in terms of other competitors coming for me for other opportunities. It will limit my other opportunities, and so they were willing to pay.
Do you have political ambitions?
I've never had that. I mean, I never had that.
So in the book, you write again that a political party wanted you to endorse their presidential candidate.
That's right.
Which party was this?
Well, I'd want you to buy the book and read.
No, I have read
you have the book.
I have
but, your audience haven't read it. Your viewers
it's not in the book.
and listeners have
The party's
it's
not
not
in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't read well.
I haven't read it.
But if it's not in the book,
yes.
there are clues in the book that would give you an idea. But I wouldn't say who, because
I don't want that.
I wouldn't say who.
Which year was this, please?
Well, if I give you the year, then I give you the party.
Oh no, but there are so many parties in this country.
It was the ruling government at the time.
Okay. Which year? 2020?
I'll give you the year.
2016?
I would give you the year.
And how much was the deal?
Oh, I was supposed to have a car. I was supposed to have $50,000 and something. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Please, are they still looking for an
my wife asked me the same question whether anybody's looking for an endorsement today.
No, if they came today, would you still reject the offer?
Oh, we might look at a few considerations. It wouldn't be, at the time there was a different period, and so I think that we've come far as a people. We're still very, very sensitive. We're accepting the fact that people have the choice to come out boldly and choose their political parties, even though it's still early days yet. But we're still not like the places like the US where Clint Eastwood can say that I'm up for Obama, and there's no stigma. And there's he still has all the benefits that that he deserves and all that.
Okay.
But today, I mean, there are a few things we'll consider a few things.
No, so
probably
with the question I asked, the they in the question is not particularly with the party that came to you. Any other party, if any other party comes to you.
It was just a decision at the time that look, I wasn't going to have, especially learning from the likes of John Dumelo, etc., who came out boldly, and there were implications, for him. A certain part of the region refused to buy his CDs. Any movie that he was related to, they stopped buying. The producers lost some money just because he came out to, align with a political party publicly. And at the time, the pusher thing was still there and keeping up and growing. Even after that, and I didn't want to have a divided. I wanted to cut across, political lines and affiliations, etc., and still have my following and then make the impact that I so desired at the time.
With your many references to your Christian values, should we be surprised or not to see you in clerical soon?
Oh no! I mean, I think that there are people who are not behind the pulpit who are doing greater stuff, more than, I mean, sometimes even if you want to draw some comparisons, there are people who are doing better than some who are behind the pulpit in their own way, And the thing is, the adage is brighten the corner where you are. You don't need to be behind the pulpit before you can do what you're expected of, and so I don't need to be in that space for me to do what I need to do. Yeah.
All right, Uncle Ken and Chief Adjetey Anang is here. Let me start with Uncle Ken.
It's good to always have Adjetey in the house.
Yeah.
He's somebody I have followed and liked, for so long. And he's always been who I think he is. He's always portrayed himself the way I expect the Adjetey I have grown to love to be. So I'm a bit amazed at the backlash that he's getting now because of, like he put it, because of a paragraph in his book that he sought to explain himself a lot better on, from the way people perceived that paragraph. You see, sometimes it's so difficult being in the public eye. I know that Adjetey, as I see him, would have loved never to be in the public eye. He seems that sort of person, and I am sure he would agree with me if he had his way, he would not be in the public eye. But unfortunately,
unfortunately
for him,
okay,
and fortunately for us, he's in the public
exactly.
eye. So he was talking about his brand. You see, a brand needs likability to evolve. You get the point I'm trying to make?
Exactly.
And so if because of the likability value, if you tend to offend the people who like you in any way that they perceive you offending them, you have to face the consequences for that, And I don't subscribe to people wanting to tell people how to live their lives, especially adults, how to live their lives. And if I come out and tell you, like Adjetey did, that if I just lust over a female, I have sinned. If I tell you that that's what I believe in, that if I just lust over a female, I have sinned and therefore cheated on my wife, why do you challenge me for saying that? It is me who thinks that way, not you. You might not think that way. You might think that from your perspective, cheating is only when you've had something sexual to do with another female or a man, in the case of females, or a man. That's when you have cheated. But I think that if I kiss somebody, I have cheated. And you come to challenge me and say, I can't say that. I find it hard to believe or to take, because that's the way I think. Okay? You might not think so. Fair enough. Say so. Say you don't think so. But don't tell me that I'm trying to belittle your intelligence. That's what hurt me the most when I heard people talk about Adjetey's, explanation to that bit.
Since you are still talking about that paragraph, I don't know, because it mentions physically and emotionally.
Correct.
But his explanation is
the emotional part.
Is a bit different from what is written in the book. I don't know what the contradiction was, or who caused that.
Do you think there was a contradiction? Do you Kwame Dadzie? Do you think that was
Because I could see physically and emotionally.
Uh-huh.
I cheated on my wife physically and emotionally. Except if there's a different definition
to physical?
to physical.
Right. Physical could mean hugging, as
Well,
he tried to say. Is hugging not a physical act?
he wants to answer.
No, I'm just concurring with him.
Kwame, is hugging not a physical act?
Oh, okay.
Is
Okay.
kissing not a physical act?
Okay. Okay.
That's physical.
Okay.
Then, lusting over somebody, looking at a lady. Imagine being at a gathering with, say, your wife seated beside you, okay, at a party or an event, and you see a lady dressed in some mini skirt with some stiletto high heels walk past with the Coca-Cola shape, and you're sitting there admiring that thing whilst your wife was sitting beside you. You do you understand what I'm saying? Whilst your wife is seated next to you, and this lady passes by, and you fix your gaze at this lady from when she started walking till she vanishes from the room. Is that not an emotional, lustful act? Wouldn't you call that so? So maybe I tended to understand where he was coming from with that, because it happens. It happens. So he thinks that that is still cheating on my wife. And you say he has no right to say that.
Adjetey,
Let him say it and disagree.
At the time you were writing that particular paragraph, did you think at a point that it would be misconstrued?
I don't think so.
No, I didn't. But I mean, even though, later on, especially after Yvonne's, the feedback from Yvonne Nelson's book, I realized that, look, there might be some backlash because of how people were interpreting things, and especially because people were looking out for what is the negative thing in this book, what is the downside of this guy and his story, and so I anticipated that people would begin to focus on that. And I wish and hope that it wouldn't be, but somewhere it did, and so but I still had to tell my story because I didn't have the choice not to bring that part, because it didn't happen yesterday, way back, and we have dealt with it. But I still needed to reach out to these young people who I know, some of them who are in this same, who are caught in the space that I once went through. And when you want people, you want to speak to people, you want to impact people, there's a level of vulnerability that you need to, and sincerity that you need to come forth with. That's the only way that they can relate to you and say that, look, this guy, I'm not the only person in this. He was in there as well. How did you make it? How did you get out of it? What are the boundaries that you put, A, B, and C? Did you have accountability, friends or partners, whatever it is, that I would also get out? And more importantly for me are those who are yet to even step into the same space.
Great.
And so I didn't hold back on that. I just didn't give details because I think that it would lose focus. And I've had people compare, coming to Twitter, that if you don't tell us that Jackie's son is yours, and then forget it, we'll not read, and things like that. And who. I'm like, that's not the focus of the book. The focus of the book is to let people know that I had weaknesses, I dealt with them, I fought them, and daily I improved, and it's been a good journey from that since then. And so you can also get out of that space. You just need to say it out there and seek help, because what we tend to do to especially men who are caught in those spaces when they really do not wish that they are in, is that they cower, because the moment they reach out, they are condemned or judged, and so therefore let me shut up and stay in, and they don't get help, and before you realize they've destroyed themselves. And so you see so many potential people with so much potential, with so much hope to impact, and then there's a flaw, or there are flaws in their character, and then they'll go anywhere. And we need to deal with this, but we have to create that space where people are able to approach someone and say that, Charlie, I struggle with this thing, I need help, and that for me was why I didn't hold back.
Okay, let me read that paragraph to you if you are hearing of this for the first time. It says, yes, I have cheated on my wife before, and the various forms that cheating could be defined as, both emotionally and physically. To every lady I have been on that path with, I would like to apologize unreservedly for such inappropriate behavior. I've struggled to forgive myself, and these experiences have been the lowest points in our marriage and nearly tore us apart. I'm grateful for God and Elam's forgiveness and the love that has kept us going strong through those dark times. So that is the paragraph. Yeah, he's explained already. So, Chief Mumin,
Yes, unlike Uncle Ken,
Uncle Adjetey is
I
here.
would veer off completely from the tangent of the sensational aspects of the book. I mean,
We are not even reviewing the book in its
I
entire,
know,
entirety.
about,
yeah.
about his career, but
Okay.
it was Uncle Ken who drew us back into the salacious aspect of it. Very emphatically. Not beginning to wonder. But yeah, for those of us, so there's an interesting dynamic in the studio. Adjetey Anang is about 15 years older than me. Uncle
Okay.
Ken is about 20 years older than Adjetey Anang. So like we represent, three generations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and for those of us, who grew up in the 90s, Things We Do for Love was one of the most successful locally produced, TV shows. The 90s were really a great era of local productions. I remember Ultimate Paradise, and the likes of it, right? So we from the 90s to the early 2000s, I think that was the duration, right?
That's right.
It was one of the very much well-produced, TV shows. So, not surprisingly, with someone like Farmhouse, in charge. And then,
Exactly.
pardon, did you say something?
No, I said exactly.
Yeah. Yes, of course. And then with actors, and it introduced a whole generation of actually actors, right?
Sure.
And Adjetey was one of the very popular, actors who represented the everyday struggling, aspiring, young man, who wanted to find themselves in, very good places. But I think that there was just an affinity to that character that has transcended that era even till this day. And for me, it shows you that how powerful acting and characters are, that even till this day, with all that he has still done, probably the most famous character he would ever play is Adjetey. I stand to be corrected, right? With all the great stuff that he's ever done. Yeah, but beyond that, for me, I think the point I'm trying to drive home is that despite the acclaim that he got, and that would probably be one of his earliest, forays into TV or into film, right?
Okay.
And the success of it and, the acclaim of it, I think that it never got into his head. And I think that one of the things that people respect Adjetey Anang for in the industry is how down to earth, professional and reliable that he is. I think that's one of the points that people really uphold, and pay him that homage. And if he commits to a project, he commits 100%. And then he's someone who's taken acting as his profession, and he has actually, gone to school to better his craft. He doesn't assume that, I've succeeded from a very early age, and that is it. He recognized the importance of investing in his craft. So that's why, for me, he's one of the most respected actors of our generation, today. And in writing a book, 50 years is important. One of the things that you do is to share your story. I know that when Yvonne's book came out, there was a lot of, controversy because of those, aspects, right? And even his book, people tended to just focus on that supposedly one character. But I'm sure there's a wealth of information, experience. And these things are also historical documents, so that, years from now, decades from now, people can refer to those books and even understand what was happening in the era. So I'm just looking forward to reading the book. As said, I was always waiting for the excitement to die down, especially with your
You
book
need
and
to read
Yvonne's
the book.
And at my own time, I'm looking to read it. And I want to congratulate you, not just for publishing the book, but for the great role that you have played in our industry, both on stage and on screen. It's not easy to straddle both worlds because they require, different. I'm not an actor, but I have the greatest respect for actors. But I know that they require. I do. I write for actors. I put words in the mouth of actors.
Deal with them.
And I look forward to casting Adjetey one of these days,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
when I can pay him that $50,000.
Chief,
Yes,
you blamed me.
I blame you.
You sat here and you said, I blame Uncle Ken.
Did I use the word blame?
Yeah, oh, yes, you said so. But do you think
Yes.
that having Adjetey in the studio,
We could have avoided.
our audience out there would have forgiven us
Never.
for not
Never.
For
touching
not
on that.
broaching the subject.
You-
So
have
in the
you-
interest of
hold
our
on,
audience.
hold on. Have you heard of the word? No, I don't want to.
Oh, African, please mention the word. I'm not.
Which word is that?
Let me not use it.
We are waiting for it.
No.
Is it a profane word?
It's
Okay.
not profane as
Okay.
such, but Adjetey.
African, now we are all confused.
Have you heard of apodiopsis?
Oh no, Uncle Ken, please educate us.
And apodiopsis actually means apodiopsis is the act of undressing somebody in your head sexually.
Oh, that one, the people are guilty. A lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it means.
A lot of people.
Undressing somebody's in your head sexually.
Oh, okay. Apple what, please?
Oh, now when you're growing up,
Yes.
that's why I can identify with Adjetey when he says that
Yes.
he has cheated on his wife. I might not go as far as saying I have cheated.
Uncle Ken, please.
But-
you are treading on very controversial.
But
territory.
when growing up in your 20s, in your youth, early youth, youthful days, you do that quite often.
Uncle Ken, have you heard of the word vicarious?
Yes,
Because I've
Vicarious
but
is also-
I feel that you are living vicariously through that paragraph. It's as if your commentary is not about Uncle Adjetey.
No, but it's part of it.
no, my commentary,
Yes.
my commentary is
Yes.
about why people have decided,
Yes.
like you said, to just pick on that paragraph
Because people will always be
and
people.
and blow it out of all proportions and condemned him. Some actually went as far as insulting him because
yeah.
they think that he has
Because
insulted
it
their
tickles their
intelligence.
interest. Yeah.
Haven't you heard people say all sorts of things?
Anyway, I haven't followed the
Oh
commentary.
yes,
Okay.
the commentary
Quite.
has
I mean,
been that
probably
vile.
I've just
It has been that
blocked it
vile.
out of me
As
because
far
I
as
felt
I'm
it was
concerned.
just people being
Adjetey.
people.
Yeah.
Do you
But,
wi-
can
do,
I
you-
go-
do you wish that part wasn't included in the?
Can I answer for him?
I don't.
From a writer's perspective, no. In fact, you don't even have to comment about the subject again. You see, this book, as I said, is not just for this generation.
Right.
I mean, you write for posterity, and posterity is ad infinitum until Armageddon, if you believe in Armageddon, right? So yes, I mean, this book is not, and a writer must always say their truth, whatever that truth is. He has decided to put his truth out there, and it is for us to deal with, whether we like it or not. All of us have had our own kinds of experiences. Not all of us will write the book, but if he has been bold enough, in fact, to even take that step and open himself up, it is, I mean, so people will always be people. I mean, sex sells, the idea of sex sells, violence sells. So, especially in the wake of Yvonne's book, people were looking for, okay,
It's
what is
exactly
the
the
big
same thing,
review?
yeah.
But at the end of the day, we'll go past this. It's
Of
going to,
course,
it's a 9-day
of
wonder.
course,
Yeah, people would hammer, even Yvonne, we've gone beyond it. Now, Sarkodie has been saying that the song was leaked. My point is that, I mean, if you didn't want it to be leaked, don't even produce it. Record it in the first place, right? I mean, that's just taking a necessary stray bullet. So my point here is that the
So
work
you say you
is,
should not have recorded it.
I mean, he said it was leaked. I'm like, okay, but why
He
was it
recorded.
a form of a therapy?
It was an experiment. He was he was yet to decide whether to release it or not.
Scripts
Yes.
that have not been
Exactly.
No, but when I'm writing, my intention is for it to be out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but some of them you've kept.
Yes, waiting for the right time to produce.
That's-
But
that's
this one doesn't apply. They were just unless it's a
See,
coping
see,
mechanism,
you see,
then
that
I
one
understand.
doesn't apply.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that ultimately, we want to celebrate Adjetey
Of course we do.
for the
We do.
remarkable role that he
I have other issues I want to raise with him.
Yes,
but I wanted
likewise.
to clear.
All right.
Clear
this
this.
thing
We have more issues. We have
Not
more
issues,
issues.
questions,
Yes,
but, about his
questions.
life, his
And if you're
work.
listening, you can give us a call right now. Ajete Anang is in the studio.
Can we ban the topic of that part?
030
callers.
03022 0302216 0302216 You can call right now.
No, I'm,
Our
not,
send us
I'm
an-
just saying that we've gone beyond it. So callers should at least focus on other areas of the book or his life, his illustrious
Adjetey,
life.
let me ask you this question. You are in the industry, the creative industry. How prevalent is seduction from women, to men in the industry? Like,
Oh, it's both ways. It's just that the guys from that side outnumber them, but it's both ways. It's both
Did you
ways.
personally get like nudes in DMs, like I love
Yeah,
you?
yeah, it happens. It happens.
Did-
I've had that before.
Did those things happen at your naive stage?
So, you have to be very, very careful because it's a combination of what your mind is like processing. And so, as Uncle Ken said, where you can dress somebody in
Yes.
your mind.
Yeah.
What was the
you may
word
not
again?
Apodiopsis.
Apodiopsis. Yeah.
Apodiopsis.
The act of sexually
Yeah.
addressing someone mentally.
So what is the verb? What's the verb form of it?
Apodio. Okay.
So that's
Adjetey.
the
Doing that.
Adjetey, please continue.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's a combination of this is remember this is an era or was an era where we were thrown in because in those days we didn't know social media. I didn't know social media.
Okay.
Then Facebook comes up, and all of a sudden you have all these girls, coming to my DM and they are sending so many messages. It's like it makes you feel cool. You're like, hey, Charlie, people they see me, that kind of thing. And this is a platform that you never saw coming, and it's here.
Yeah.
And so you tend to sort of also, relate. And then you exchange words, and then it grows through emojis, etc., etc. Now, there's this aspect of us you would say that is sinful, if you will.
Okay.
Where sometimes it's fun. You know what I'm saying? Sin can be fun and exciting. But the thing is that we forget that it has consequences. Just like the way if we're doing corruption or any other thing and
Yeah.
we're getting the money, it's
Yeah.
fun to spend it. But then when accountability comes, then we're in hot waters. And so, yes, I wasn't sensitized to how to deal with my fans when I'm under the spotlight, and I thought that being in their good books meant that I needed to give them what they wanted in terms of, when they send me something, I respond and I add some sugar and spice to it just to make it, make them loyal. But I realized that you were growing. There was this particular girl who, I think this is not in the book. I don't remember her name, who was like I had led on in terms of conversation, and then she said that we should meet. He knows this place where we could meet, and then I cut her off.
That's it.
And she wouldn't let go. She said, hey, maybe I ever do. You let me down, you said no. And she gave me some wahala small.
Oh.
She gave me some wahala small,
Wow.
So these are some of the things. You may not necessarily want to, you may process some of these things, as Uncle Ken said, but you may not have the boldness to, make it happen physically. Because of a few number of things, and where you are and where you want to go, etc. So, this were some of the challenges in those times.
Okay, let's
We're
pick
also
this
in the
caller.
creative industry.
There is a caller online. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Your name and where you calling from, please.
My name is Jude. I'm calling from Madina.
Okay, please, Adjetey Anang is here. Let's hear you.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Adjetey. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, boss.
Yes, I'm here to have access to the content or copy of the book to read, but I think you did very well. I see no reason why I should bow to this unnecessary societal pressure just because you are bold to say what you've done and you've decided to put it in a book just for somebody or some of us to also learn something out of it. And then the media had decided to take advantage over the negative aspect instead of to concentrate on the substantive, the salient, something that can be a generational blessing people can learn either to, shape their career or whatever they are doing. The media have decided not to concentrate on that, but rather to dwell on the negativity, to sell the negative aspect to the whole world. It's quite unfortunate. And then I don't know. It's like the whole thing is going to make people that have also, especially within the media space or celebrities that have also probably planned to write a book, the way the media, look at what had happened to Yvonne Nelson, the aspect that has been so much popularized to the extent that the part that we were supposed to concentrate on had been taken or has been truncated out of the context. What I'm trying to say is, it's going to put a certain kind of, repellent somewhere. If somebody also within the media space want to write about it, say no. What had happened to Mr. Adjetey and Yvonne, I won't put it over there. Because people will not pay attention to the something that I want people to learn, that to benefit them, they will not concentrate. Rather than they will dwell on the negativity. But the media can never take each out of the whole issue. Because I followed them, they started, publicizing the negative aspect, how you cheated on your wife, instead of them to concentrate on the good aspect, something that the youth can face something out of it. They decide not to do to talk about it. So I kudos to you. You've done very well. And as you rightly say, it takes a very bold man also to tell his wife that this is what I've done, forgive me. Okay. So not everyone and everybody can do that. But you are very bold to do that. And yet the media decided to. So the media is causing so much trouble. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
but
boss.
he wrote
Thank
that
you.
part of
Thank
the
you
book
so
for
much.
a purpose. That portion in the book was for a purpose. I don't think it's negative. It was for a purpose. So yeah. So we can't say any part of the book is negative. If it were, he wouldn't have added it to the book. And we didn't create it. We were just reviewing the book. Which one tickles your fancy is the one you comment on. Let me read a few messages. You can also call us right now, 03022165541. A few of your comments here. This one says, good afternoon, Kwame. I want to ask Adjetey Anang this controversial question. How did his wife feel when he said in his book that he cheated on her? Okay, answered already. This bash from Abelingbe. And then this one says, good evening, Uncle Adjetey. Love your ways since things we do for love. Wish to meet you. Thank you. Ali Achim Kukuren to me. And then another one says that I know Adjetey's Osu family. As Presbyterians, they belong to the Osu Ebenezer Presby. Yeah. I remember anytime he attended church, the youth faces lit up because he was then the pusher. And and he said, bless him, Nana Spintex there. All right. Very soon we'll be talking about the Black Sheriff's issue with Cruise People Limited. Yes, there is an update, so stay tuned. But let me ask Adjetey this question. In the book, you mentioned that we have talents in this industry, the creative industry, but we lack business minds. Yeah. How do we solve this?
I think one of the ways in which we can is if our younger generation learn to stay in the process, because before you can make business out of something, then you have to be baked. You can be in a certain craft and not be baked. People come to my DMs and they say they're so passionate about acting. Give me a chance and I'll prove it. Sometimes I just take a stroll to the social media spaces, and all I see is just selfies of their food, their designer wears. I'm like, if you say you're so passionate about this that you're talking about, let me see something that you posted out there. Let the world know that, oh, you have a talent, you have a gift in there. Make noise about it. The platform we're underutilizing it. And for young people with so much potential, we have to see what you can offer. There are people who have made breakthroughs like that. And so they have to learn to stay in the process. People want to jump overnight to be a Nadia Buhari overnight or a Jackie Pia overnight without knowing that you need to invest in the craft. You need to take your time. We started learning the late Solomon Sampers, Abil Kynes. When we got to National Theatre, when I saw the likes of David Donta, I was marveled. But they put me backstage for a purpose. I didn't like it because I was like, this is a fine opportunity to be on stage with the big guys. But they were training me in terms of stage construction for me to even understand how actors can relate to stage and why are they choosing the colors that they're choosing, why are the flats done this way. I needed to understand that before they brought me into the area where I had the skill in. And so if you don't have patience and humble enough to learn all these processes, you get there to the top and they throw something an assignment at you and then you crumble. And so if we do not invest in ourselves, in our craft, and investment is not just about, I'm not talking about even financial, I'm talking about, do we even read? how much are we reading in the area of our craft? How much are we, getting people who have walked that path, talking to them about how did they do it? What were the choices that they made that were wrong, that slowed them down, that would be in my advantage? How are we engaging those? Do we even read? I put posters out there with all information, venue, National Theatre, and then somebody comes to write, where's the venue? I'm like, really? So it was just the aesthetics. You just look at the colors and then bang, you just no reading. And so if we do not prepare that way, there's not going to be any business anywhere. And so that's where it starts from. And I'm saying that we're killing so much time and wasting so much time, so much of our youthful years are being wasted down the drain when we can really, really cash on in these spaces. And so that's one of the things that I'm hopefully pumping into the minds and Nafti where I am, which, as I said, I don't see it as an accident at all. I see it as giving them that opportunity to be able to be responsible for the content that they
Do you also think managers and executives in this creative industry would have to maybe consider taking courses in marketing, business, management, and all that?
Oh yeah. I mean, in the Western world, this happens. It's a normal thing that happens, and I think that we need to really focus on that. It's a subject area where NAFTI as an institution has been, thinking about, because some of these young people with so much talent, they come out there and they can't even make business out of, what they're so much gifted in, and that's an area where we really need to engage in seriously.
There's one question I want to ask you. You mentioned theater, and you were analyzing the growth of theater, and you mentioned the fact that we lack venues, for performances and all that.
That's
and
right.
this ties into governments. I mean,
That's right.
successive governments' promises to give theaters to the industry. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? I mean, when you look at, and when we talk of theatre spaces, we're not talking about National Theatre. That is a big mother, but we're talking of spaces that can hold 150, 200 maximum, very compact. You have that relationship with the audience is compact, and that becomes even affordable, where people can begin to grow, as it were. I remember those days when we were used to perform in the small drama studio. It was like playing the Ghana Premier League, and then when we go to the National Theatre, it becomes the World Cup stage or Champions League stage. So you build in those small spaces. You have that loyal fans, you have the intimate relationship with your audience, and then when you break out, then you can go out there in the big. And we don't have those. And young people who are coming up with productions with little capital cannot even rent the National Theatre. It's so expensive. And so what are we doing to our industry when we don't have? It's like how we talk about even the football era, where we had challenges in the grassroots, in how we're developing from the under 16, 17 to 23, how it fits into the Black Stars. If those foundations are not solid, we can't expect good fruits in the bigger.
Back in the day, the Arts Center.
That's
All of
right.
the capacity of the Arts Center. But every weekend, activity,
Something was happening.
something was happening there.
Yeah.
And it catered for the
did.
environment
It did.
where the people
It did.
lived,
It did.
So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, though, tell us about the 1 Million Foundation. What is it?
The 1 Million Foundation was a foundation founded by my wife and I. It was the motivation was because of a tragedy, which when we lost her mom, my mother-in-law, partly because she didn't get the quality health care delivery. And we thought that, look, to mark my 50th, it would be nice to do a foundation that would last for 10 years. Then we wash our hands of it. But we focused on mothers and children because of the many stories, first-hand information, experiences that I had even at the hospital. And we thought that, look, would make such an impact, adding up to what government is doing, or in some areas where government has had shortfalls in getting 100 influencers who would commit to 1 cedi a day, 30 cedis a month, or 365 a year, who would also impact on their fan base, so that we move into a hospital. So we're starting with the pediatric department unit, children's surgery unit, where we go. What are your priorities? We zoom in, we do it for you. Then we move to another hospital. We wanted to take a national kind of thing where we come in, we solve a problem, we move to the other hospital, so that it catches and leave an impact on lives that would have been lost, if you will.
Okay, where do we get to buy the book?
Oh, the book. You have booknook.store.com. We have EPP books, Kingdom Books, and the list goes on. If you come onto my page, my Instagram, Adjetey Anang, you would see the details all in there. Yeah.
All right, Uncle Ken. Yes. Before he goes.
I have a very serious question for Adjetey.
Okay.
What role has he played in getting the Actors Guild into the state in which it is today?
Whoa.
So behind the scenes, we've been playing what I call the peace. We'll be smoking the peace pipe.
Okay.
Because right now there are two factions, who are. I think the issue is
It's in court still, yeah.
And behind the scenes, we're trying to see how we can bring this home, so that we don't wash our dirty linens out there, and try to find a solution. Because look, when
It's been too long.
yeah, it's tough. They're very, very deep seated issues that we need to confront and deal with it before it's too late.
Are you a member of the Actors
Oh yes,
Guild?
I am. I am.
Okay.
Come, if you look at the way other countries,
Yeah.
Exactly.
guilds,
Yeah.
and
Equity,
are
the UK
making
has equity.
inroads into
It's-
bettering the lives of their members and all that, and we have such talented actors and actresses in this country. Individually, they're so talented and so good at what they do,
Yeah.
and you marvel as to why they simply can't get themselves together
It's sad.
to propel them somewhere. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, let's pray. It gets better.
Pray.
Are we not praying? Uncle Ken? Chief.
Yes.
Your last words to Adjetey Anang.
Yes,
I
I mean,
didn't say
wishing
uncle.
him another 50 plus years.
Amen.
greater impact.
Amen. He receives
Amen.
it.
Yes, more screen, more stage time, and bigger endorsement. I know that one of the things he said is, sacrificing for your principles. It's not always just about the money. It's also about where you stand and what your brand is. And he has jealously guarded or protected his brand over the years. And I hope that it pays off, as Trump would say, bigly.
Bigly. Thank you so much, Chief.
Chief,
Yes, Uncle Ken.
a friend of mine sent a message for you.
Okay.
He says you were trying to ask me how to use the word apodiopsis in a sentence.
Okay.
And
As a verb.
yes, that is what Chief
Okay. Yes.
said.
Yes.
Actually, to be very fair to
Yeah.
Chief, that's
Yeah.
what he intended. But this mischievous friend of mine
Okay.
is trying to think. He says that I should tell you that he always finds himself in a state of apodiopsis when he is watching a fashion show and he sees the models strut themselves up and down the runway.
Please, the person speaking, is the person a man or a woman?
A man, of course. A man. He said, so you see the way he used the word
Yes.
in the sentence?
Yes.
Yeah, he finds himself in a state
of apodiopsis.
yes, thank you.
On that note, thank you very much, Adjetey Anang,
Thank
for
you,
coming.
thank you always.